Our scripture reading this morning is the book of Job, and it's going to be read for you, danced for you, enacted for you, imagined for you by the Burrard St Story Guild. And if you're not familiar with... Yeah, you guys can go ahead. If you're not familiar with the Burrard St Story Guild, we are a theater arts program of Canadian Memorial United Church. We meet Friday afternoons, and we tell the stories of the Jewish and Christian scriptures. And if you are a child between the ages of grade 3 through grade 12 and you would like to join us, we'd love to have you. We'll start again in September. You can contact me or keep an eye on the website for registration. We're also very dependent on donations and grants to keep operating. And one of our grant cycles is coming to an end. If you're someone who's interested in what the Burrard St Story Guild is doing, imagining, and would like to contribute, then over and above your regular offering to the church here, there are ways. There are boxes at either end of the church here this morning, but there's also in your in the program you received opportunities for you to make a donation that way as well. A renowned thinker and social critic by the name of Paul Kingsnorth says that our culture is what he calls a technocracy. So we're profit-driven, we're technology-dominated, we're resource-hungry, and it consumes us. We actually hardly know that we're part of what he calls this machine. And he says there aren't very many ways to push back. This thing is so powerful that we're part of. But one of the ways, he says, is to tell stories. Keep telling stories, because that's what grounds us in what it means to be human. And stories can be so vulnerable, and we open our hearts to each other, and we learn what our humanity really is, what really counts. And I think that's really what Burrard St Story Guild is committed to. And we'd like to invite your stories into our storytelling. So that's why you got a strip of cloth, and I do hope everyone got one, because I'm going to invite you, first of all, to think of some loss in your life. So it's taking you to maybe a bit of a sorrowful place. It could be the loss of a dream, the loss of a relationship, maybe a friendship or a marriage. It could be the loss of a job, the loss of an opportunity. It could be the loss of confidence or the loss of hope, given what's happened on the world stage. I want everyone to take a moment and connect a very specific loss in your own life to this piece of cloth. And then, this is the vulnerable part. If you feel comfortable, there's no pressure, but just to turn to one or two people around you and just to name your loss. This is the gift of community. And you could say, it's personal, I don't want to say anymore, or you could just decline. Or you could just say a name. You could just say, Alan. And you don't have to go into it. But just so that we're weaving our losses together. So I'm just going to give you a moment. Just turn to one person, two people around you, and say what your piece of fabric represents. I'm going to make two acknowledgments right off the top. The person who was assigned to play Job had to pull out partway through the season. We were left scrambling, and our music director, Ricardo, who's doing all the music for this, is also playing the part of Job, which may be why he's wandering around wondering where his costume is. I also just want to acknowledge Grant Logan, who gave up a whole Saturday at the last minute and was with us for rehearsals and got our tech together for us. Thank you, Grant. So, Burrard St Story Guild. In the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. This man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had many sons and daughters, ran a global construction business, owned real estate in 3 countries, and sat on the board of 4 local charities. He was the greatest of men among all the people of the West. His sons used to hold feasts in their homes on their birthdays, and they would invite their sisters to eat and drink with them. And when a period of feasting had run its course, Job would make arrangements for them to join him at church. Before they arrived, Job would light a candle at the altar for each of them, praying for God's mercy in response to any wrongdoing. This was Job's regular custom. Our story begins the day Satan presented himself before God.
Where have you been?
Roaming the earth and patrolling it.
Have you noticed my servant Job, how righteous he is? There is no one on earth like him. Well, I turn Job over to you. Do what you can with all that is his. Only do not lay a hand on Job himself.
You brought me forth in my mother's womb. And naked I shall return. You gave in abundance, and now you've taken away. Blessed be your name.
Been?
Roaming the earth and patrolling it.
Have you noticed my servant Job? No one on the whole earth is like him. Blameless and upright, fearing God and avoiding evil. You brought him to ruin for nothing. You incited him against me, yet he holds fast to his innocence and refuses to curse me.
Skin for skin. All that a man has, he will give for his life. But put forth your hand and touch his bone and his flesh, and surely Job will curse you to your face.
Very well, Job is in your hands, but his life you must spare.
Day of my birth perish. That day, may it turn to darkness. May God not care about it. May no light shine on it. Why is light given to those in misery, and life to the bitter of soul? To those who long for death that does not come, who search for it more than hidden treasure, who are filled with gladness and rejoice when they reach the grave. Why is life given to a man whose way is hidden, whom God has hedged in? For sighing has become my daily food. My groans part like water. What I feared has come upon me. I have no peace. I have no quietness. I have no rest, but only turmoil.
If you will permit me to speak, Job, you have done something to offend God. This much is clear to all of us. Cleanse your heart, my friend. Repent your wrongdoing, and God will restore your fortune.
What?
Where did he go wrong, you ask? Was it vanity? Did he demand admiration from the others for no reason?
Or perhaps your wealth stripped others of their clothing, leaving them naked.
Could it be that you gave no water to the weary, or withheld food from the hungry?
Even though you are a powerful man, owning land, an honored man, living on it, is it possible that you sent widows away empty-handed and broke the strength of the fatherless?
There must be some reason that snares are all around you, and sudden peril terrifies you.
There must be an explanation for the deep darkness you find yourself in.
God does not punish a man for doing good.
You are miserable comforters, all of you. Will your long-winded speeches never end? What ails you that you keep on arguing? I also could speak like you if you were in my place. I can make fine speeches against all of you about your deeds. But that is not my way. My mouth would encourage you. Comfort my lips would bring you relief. Why this meaningless talk?
Consider your affliction a blessing, Job. It is God's way of correcting your wrongdoing.
Your suffering is God's way of correcting your behavior. Do not despise God's discipline.
When you sinned against God, he gave you over to the penalty of your sin. But if you will seek God earnestly and plead with the Almighty,
if you're pure and upright, even now God will rouse himself on your behalf and restore you to your prosperous state.
Your crafty tongue is the source of your undoing. Your sin hides behind your clever words.
Your pride reaches to the heavens, and the heavens expose your guilt.
No wonder the earth rises up against you, and a flood carries off your house.
Such is the fate God allots the wicked, the heritage appointed for them by God.
Why else would God bring charges against you? Your wickedness must be great.
As long as I have life within me, the breath of God in my nostrils, my lips will not say anything wicked, and my tongue will not utter lies. I will never admit you're in the right. Till I die, I will die with my integrity. This I promise. I will maintain my innocence and never let go. My conscience will not reproach me as long
Do
as
you
I
not
live.
realize that by maintaining your innocence, you accuse God of being unjust?
Far be it from God to do evil.
he repays everyone for what they have done. He brings on them what their conduct deserves.
It is unthinkable that God would do wrong, that the Almighty would pervert justice.
God has no need to examine people further, that they should come before him for judgment.
Without inquiry, he shatters the mighty and sets up others in their place.
Because he takes note of their deeds, he overthrows them in the night, and they are crushed.
He punishes them for their wickedness where everyone can see them.
Because they turned from following him and had no regard for any of his ways.
If only I knew where to find God. If only I could go to his dwelling. I would state my case before him and fill my mouth with arguments. I would find what God would answer me. And consider what he would say to me. Would he vigorously oppose him? No. He would not press charges against me. There, upright and established himself before him. And there, I would be delivered forever from my judge. If I go to the east, he's not there. If I go to the west, I do not find him. When he's at work in the north, I do not see him. And when he turns to the south, I catch no glimpse of him. You've turned me over to the ungodly and thrown me into the clutches of the wicked. All is well with me. You, God, you shatter me. You seized me by the neck and you crushed me. You made me a target and archers surround me without pity. You pierced my kidneys and spilled my gall onto the ground. Again and again you burst upon me. You rush at me like a warrior and destroy the blameless and the wicked. You mock the despair of the innocent. I demand the Almighty respond. Answer me.
Who is this who darkens counsel with words of ignorance? Gird up your loins like a man. I will question you, and you will tell me the answers. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were its footings set? Or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy. Who shut up the sea behind doors when it burst forth from the womb? When I made the clouds its garment and wrapped it in thick darkness? When I fixed limits for it and set its doors and bars in place? When I said, this far you may come and no farther. Here is where your proud waves halt. Have you given orders to the morning or shown the dawn its place? Surely you know, for you were already born. You have lived so many years. Have you entered the storehouses of the snow or seen the storehouses of the hail, which I reserve for times of trouble, for days of war and battle? What is the way to the place where the lightning is dispersed, or the place where the east winds are scattered over the earth? Who cuts a channel for the torrents of rain and a path for the thunderstorm, to water a land where no one lives, an uninhabited desert, to satisfy a desolate wasteland and make it sprout with grass?
When I sit and when I burn, you perceive what's on my mind. Before a word is on my tongue, familiar with all my ways. You hand me behind and before us.
So our story's not over yet. One of the beautiful things, of course, about doing these stories of the tradition, the stories of faith, is they're actually our story. They're not a story that happens up here and then you clap and leave. It's to wake you up to remember that, oh, this is my story. I had forgotten my story, and now I remember it. And so you are welcomed now to come forward with your ribbon, with your strip, and the children will take your strip from you, and in exchange they're going to offer you a blessing. So don't leave without the blessing. And then the strip will be gathered up and added to the loom of God. So welcome and enter into your story.